So your child isn't talking yet. It's one of those things that can really make a parent worry, right? You start wondering, could it be autism? But here's the thing so many parents don't realize. What can sometimes look like autism might actually be a speech delay. The signs can overlap and it gets confusing. So how in the world do you tell the difference? Let's break down the key signs to help you get a clearer picture of what might be going on. Now here's the thing. One of the clearest ways to tell the difference comes down to something so simple you might overlook it. How does your toddler react when you say their name? This one tiny interaction, or lack of one, can actually tell you a whole lot about how their brain is taking in the world around them. So let's start right there. We'll call it the name game, because for a lot of parents, this is the very first thing they notice that just feels a little different. Okay, so let's really dig into the why here. A child with a speech delay, yeah, they might not be talking, but they usually know when you're calling them. They'll turn their head, make eye contact, they'll show you they heard you. But a child on the autism spectrum might not react at all. And it's not because they're being rude or ignoring you, it's that their brain literally processes social sounds, like a name, in a different way. This is exactly why a lot of parents first think, maybe it's just a hearing problem. All right, that brings us right to our second big point, connecting without words. Because, communication is so much more than just talking. It's about that back and forth, that shared experience. And this right here, this is absolutely key. A speech delay can mess with language for sure, but it doesn't usually take away that deep, fundamental drive to connect with you. It's that social spark that we're really looking at. Think about it like this. A child with a speech delay will find other ways to get their point across. They'll grab your hand, pull you over to the window, point like crazy at a dog, and then look right back at you, eyes wide, like, whoa, did you see that? They're sharing that moment. A child with autism, on the other hand, might not instinctively do that. They might point to ask for a cookie they can't reach, but that social sharing, the, hey, look at this with me part, where they check in for your reaction, is often what's missing because that kind of social interaction might not be as hardwired for them. Okay, let's move on to number 3. And this is a big one. How they play. Play is like a giant window into a child's inner world, and it tells us so much about their social development. You know when you see a toddler pick up a banana and hold it to their ear like a phone? Or they're trying to feed their teddy bear? That's not just cute, it's actually kind of profound. They're showing you that they're watching the world, they're learning social roles, and they're imitating them. It's a huge sign of social learning. And this is where we see a really clear difference. A child with a speech delay is often all in on that pretend play. But for many kids on the spectrum, play can look very different. They might be more fascinated by lining up their toy cars in a perfect straight line. Or maybe they'll spend ages just spinning the wheels on one car, over and over again, focusing on that single repetitive motion instead of making the car drive to the store. All right, so we've talked about names, nonverbal cues, and play, but let's go a bit deeper, because the differences go way beyond just communication. There are other key behaviors that can help paint a clearer picture. You've probably heard the word stimming before. And look, all toddlers repeat stuff. That's how they learn. But with autism, these repetitive movements, like maybe flapping hands or rocking back and forth, they serve a totally different purpose. It's often a way for them to calm themselves down when the world feels like too much or to regulate their sensory system. It's a coping mechanism, which is very different from a toddler just doing a silly new dance they learned. And that ties right into their whole sensory experience. For a lot of kids with autism, the world is just dialed up to 11. That vacuum cleaner, it might sound like a jet engine to them. This is also why you often see a really strong, intense need for routine. A tiny change, like turning left instead of right on the way to the store, can feel like the whole world is falling apart. You just don't typically see that level of sensory and behavioral reaction with a simple speech delay. Okay, I need you to really listen to this next part because it's something that can be so scary for parents, and it's super important. What happens if your child was developing, was hitting some milestones, and then they seem to lose skills they once had? This has a name. It's called developmental regression. And honestly, it's a major red flag. With a typical speech delay, sure, words might be late to arrive, but they don't typically just vanish once they're there. If your kiddo is waving bye-bye or saying mama and then it's just gone, that loss of skills is a hallmark sign, and it's something you really need to bring up with your pediatrician right away. So, okay, we've gone through a lot of information, and you might be feeling a little overwhelmed right now, and that is completely okay. So let's shift gears and talk about what do you actually do next? What's a clear, simple path forward? First things first, and this is the most important, trust your gut. You know your child better than anyone on this planet. If something feels off to you, it's worth looking into. From there, talk to your pediatrician. And remember this key fact, you don't need a formal diagnosis to get help. Programs called early intervention offer assessments, often for free, and can get your child support, whether it's autism or not. I love this quote because it just frames it perfectly. Getting help early isn't about slapping a label on your kid. It's about opening doors for them. It's giving their brain the best possible chance to build new pathways for communication and connection. And the earlier you start, the bigger the impact. It's a total game changer. And finally, I really need you to hear this. If your child is struggling, it is never, ever your fault. Every single child's brain is wired differently. Needing a little extra support isn't a failure. It just means their path is unique, and you are the best person in the world to help them navigate it. So as we wrap this up, let's just reframe the whole goal. The real question isn't, what label fits my kid? The real question is, how can I understand their unique world better? How can I open that door and meet them where they are? Trusting your instincts and looking for answers is the first and most important step on that amazing journey.